The night sky over the colony world of Viral was calm, painted with silver clouds and the faint shimmer of twin moons. The colonists had finished their long day, unaware that history was about to change forever. From the dark silence of space, a warning appeared, faint light trails, burning red against the endless black. At first, the orbital sensors called it debris. Then the computers realized the truth. Those were engines. Big ones. Governor Elira Kale was still in her office when the alarms began to scream. The walls shook slightly as power surged through the planetary defense grid. She looked at the screen, dozens of signals, fast, closing in from deep space. Unknown vessels detected, the AI voice said calmly. Origin, classified. Technology, human. Elira froze. Human. That was impossible. Humanity had vanished 3 centuries ago, their home world destroyed, their colonies silent, their fleets gone. The galaxy had moved on. Empires rose, alliances formed, and the memory of Earth became only a story told to children. And now the scanners said humans were coming. Her voice trembled as she spoke. Confirm signal origin. Confirmed, the AI replied. Old Earth signature codes. Active and authentic. The governor's mind raced. If the signals were real, then who were these people? Survivors? Ghosts? Or something else entirely? Across the colony, people ran into the streets, looking up. The sky began to glow. First faint, like dawn before sunrise, then brighter, crimson and gold fire streaking across the clouds. Children pointed, shouting with joy. Adults watched in silence, fear and awe mixing in their eyes. From orbit, massive ships broke through the atmosphere, their hulls black as void, edges burning with re-entry heat. They weren't small civilian craft. These were warships. Old-world design, angular and brutal, marked with faded blue symbols no one had seen for generations. One of them bore the ancient name, UNS Valiant. The first thunder came seconds later. Sonic booms rolled across the sky, shaking windows and hearts alike. The people of Viral had seen alien fleets before, but nothing like this. These ships didn't glide. They roared. Then, silence. The ships hovered above the capital like giants made of metal and fire. Governor Elira's comms lit up with incoming messages from the Defense Command. Governor. Orders. Should we activate the orbital guns? She hesitated. No. Not yet. Let's see what they want. A beam of light shot down from the largest ship, stabilizing in mid-air just above the central plaza. Within the light, a figure appeared, humanoid, armored, and impossibly tall. The armor was old-world human tech, but enhanced, smoother, darker, and lined with faint blue light. The figure took one step forward, landing with a sound like thunder. The people scattered, afraid. Then the helmet opened. It was a man, pale, scarred, eyes glowing faintly blue from cybernetic implants. His voice echoed through the plaza, amplified by unseen speakers. This world was once under the protection of Earth, he said. We have returned to reclaim what was lost. His words rolled through the city like a wave. Some cried. Some laughed in disbelief. Others dropped to their knees, whispering ancient prayers to gods they thought were long dead. Elira stepped out onto the balcony of the governor's tower, her eyes locked on the stranger. Who are you? She called out. The man looked up. Commander Rian Holt. United Earth Defense Fleet. Elira's voice trembled. That fleet doesn't exist anymore. A faint smile crossed Rian's face. It does now. The lights from the ships brightened again. Cargo bays opened, revealing ranks of soldiers in dark suits, banners of blue and silver unfurling beside them. They stood in perfect formation, disciplined and silent. It felt like an invasion, but there was something else in the air. Not just power. Purpose. Rian looked around, scanning the frightened faces of the colonists. We come not as conquerors, he said. We come as the children of Earth, forgotten by the stars. And we remember. The crowd whispered. Children of Earth? They're human. Impossible. Elira stepped closer to the edge. Why now? After centuries. He looked up at her, eyes cold. Because the sky burned, Governor. Because something woke us. Before she could ask more, the comm screens across the colony flickered to life. The image of a massive alien dreadnought filled the displays, sharp, spined, alive with energy. The colony's defense AI spoke again. New contact detected. Class: hostile. Species: V-Iraq Dominion. Everyone on the plaza froze. The V-Iraq were an ancient enemy, a brutal species that ruled half the sector. And now, one of their fleets was entering orbit. Commander Rian's expression hardened. So it begins. He turned back toward the glowing sky where the alien ships appeared, black shadows against fire. Then, he gave a single order. All units, defensive formation. Protect the colony. The engines of the human warships roared back to life. Blue fire cut through the clouds, and the night sky ignited once again. For the first time in centuries, the universe would remember what it meant when humanity went to war. And on the surface of Viral, every man, woman, and child looked up, their hearts pounding, as the sky burned with their return. The sky above Viral was still burning with trails of blue fire as the alien dreadnoughts approached. The ground shook under the roar of engines. People ran through the streets, carrying children, shouting prayers, searching for shelter. From the balcony, Governor Elira Kale watched in silence. The air smelled of metal and ozone. Her heart pounded as she saw the human fleet moving, smooth, precise, deadly. They formed a shield above the colony, warships aligning into perfect battle lines, engines glowing like miniature suns. Against the darkness of space, they looked like blades of light. She whispered, "They're defending us." Inside the command tower, holoscreens filled with data. The alien dreadnought was massive, larger than any ship Viral's defense grid had ever seen. It glowed with strange red energy, alive and pulsing like a heart. Commander Rian Holt stood at the center of his ship, the UNS Valiant. His voice was calm, sharp as steel. Raise shields. Prepare plasma batteries. No one fires until my signal. His officers moved like shadows around him, each one focused, disciplined, veterans of wars no one remembered. On the main screen, a transmission flashed in red. The V-Iraq Dominion was hailing them. A monstrous face appeared, dark skin, scales across its neck, eyes burning yellow like molten glass. The alien spoke in a deep, growling tone. "This world belongs to the Dominion. Identify yourselves or be destroyed." Rian stared at the image. Then he smiled slightly, not out of joy, but something colder. "This world," he said slowly, "was once protected by Earth. And Earth does not forget." The alien hissed. "Earth. A dead planet. A forgotten race." Rian leaned closer to the screen. "Then let us remind you." He gave a silent hand signal. Seconds later, every gun on the human fleet came alive. Blue light pulsed through the black hulls, and the first wave of plasma fire ripped across the void. The V-Iraq dreadnought tried to shield itself, but the human weapons were faster, heavier than anything built in the current age. The impact tore across its armor, splitting it open like glass. From the colony below, people gasped as they saw the heavens blaze. The once quiet night became a storm of fire and light. Governor Elira could not believe what she was seeing. For centuries, no one had stood against the V-Iraq and lived. But these humans, these ghosts from history, were winning. After the third barrage, the alien dreadnought began to retreat, engines flaring red as it pulled back into deep space. "Target disengaged," one of Rian's officers reported. "Enemy fleeing." Rian didn't relax. His gaze stayed on the dark stars. "They'll be back," he said. "They always come back." Then he turned to his communications officer. "Open a channel to the colony. I owe them an explanation." Moments later, every screen in the capital lit up with his image. The colonists stopped whatever they were doing, staring at the man who had just saved them. My name is Commander Rian Holt, he said. I come from what you once knew as the United Earth Defense Fleet. We are not ghosts. We are survivors. His voice was calm, but behind it was weight, years of pain and silence. 300 years ago, when the Great Collapse destroyed Earth, a few of us escaped. We went beyond known space, far beyond the reach of any empire. For centuries, we rebuilt. We watched from the dark, waiting, learning. Elira whispered. Waiting for what? Rian seemed to hear her question. Waiting for the signal. The moment when the stars would burn again. He paused, eyes distant. And it came, a distress call. From this sector. Old Earth code. Something, or someone, called us back. The crowd murmured. A signal. From where? Elira leaned forward on the balcony. Who sent it? Rian's face turned grim. We don't know. It used Earth encryption, codes that died centuries ago. But it came from inside Dominion space. Deep inside. He looked down slightly, his expression hardening. Whoever sent it knew one thing: humanity was not gone. And they wanted us to return. The silence that followed felt heavy. The colonists stared up at the sky, realizing what his words meant. Somewhere, someone had called the lost children of Earth home. Governor Elira finally spoke through the open channel. Commander, your technology, your fleet, you could change everything in this sector. The Dominion has ruled us for generations. If you stay, we can fight them together. Rian looked down, silent for a long moment. Then he said softly, we didn't come to rule. We came to find out who woke us up. And to finish what we started long ago. Elira frowned. What do you mean? Rian's eyes glowed faintly blue again. Before Earth fell, we sent something into deep space. A weapon, a seed of our last hope. We called it Project Dawnfire. It was meant to rebuild humanity among the stars. But if someone used its signal, that means Dawnfire has been found. Elira's heart sank. And if it's in Dominion space? Then, Rian said, turning toward the viewing window, watching the stars burn, we'll have to go there. Outside, the human fleet began to shift formation, engines humming as light rippled across their hulls. Rian's voice echoed one last time through every speaker on Viral. Prepare your world, Governor. This is only the beginning. The galaxy is about to remember who we are. Then, the transmission cut out. High above the world, the UNS Valiant turned its bow toward the black, engines flaring blue. The humans were leaving orbit, heading straight for the unknown. And as the stars swallowed their ships, one thought echoed across the colony. If this was the return of humanity, what else had awakened with them? The human fleet moved through the void like a silent storm. Beyond the last beacon of friendly space, the stars grew colder and fewer, and darkness swallowed everything. Commander Rian Holt stood on the bridge of the UNS Valiant, his eyes fixed on the faint signal pulsing ahead, a single, rhythmic sound. Old Earth code. 3 short tones, 3 long, 3 short. SOS. No one had used that distress signal for 300 years. Range to source. Rian asked quietly. 2.7 light days, the navigator replied. Signal is repeating, but unstable. Almost like it's being jammed. By the Dominion, Rian said. They know we're coming. The crew worked in silence. They were all veterans of lost wars, soldiers born in darkness, trained in exile, waiting for this moment their entire lives. Below them, in the engineering deck, the ship's heart, the ether core, glowed faintly blue. It was technology born from Earth's final experiments. A reactor that bent space around it, letting the fleet move faster than any known drive. Rian had always wondered if humanity had gone too far when they built it. Now, he was sure they hadn't gone far enough. Commander, said Lieutenant Mara, his second in command. We've picked up ghost readings. Multiple contacts. Possibly Dominion patrols. Rian didn't flinch. Let them watch. They'll know we're not hiding. He looked at the signal again, his jaw tightening. Magnify the transmission. Let's hear it. The ship's speakers crackled, and then came the faint voice. Earth burns. Help us, they're coming. Static filled the rest. The bridge went silent. The voice had been human. Weak, but real. Mara whispered. That can't be. It's ancient. Rian closed his eyes. It's not a recording. It's live. Every officer on the bridge turned toward him. But, sir. It's live, Rian repeated. That's a distress call from someone using Earth's own encryption. Someone alive out there. The crew exchanged uneasy looks. None of them had ever heard another human voice outside their own fleet. Humanity was supposed to be extinct, except for them. Rian stared into the stars. Set course for the signal. Maximum burn. Engines flared blue. The Valiant and its escorts disappeared into light. For 2 days, the fleet flew through Dominion territory, invisible and silent. Ruined worlds passed beneath them, burned colonies, shattered moons, the bones of ancient battles. On the 3rd day, they reached the signal source. It came from a dying world, half-cracked, covered in ash and red storms. Orbiting it was something massive. A space station. Old, broken, but still powered. Its outer hull carried faded symbols, human ones. The emblem of the United Earth Defense Initiative. Mara gasped. That's impossible. That station's from before the collapse. Rian stared in disbelief. They found one of our outposts. The fleet slowed to a crawl. Scanners swept the surface. No active defense, no life signs. But the signal was still there, repeating again and again. Rian gave the order. Send a team. I'm going down. Minutes later, a small shuttle left the Valiant, cutting through the red clouds and landing inside the broken station's hangar. The interior was dark, filled with floating dust and silence. The air was stale, the lights long dead. Rian and his team moved through the corridors, flashlights slicing through the gloom. Rusted weapons floated in the zero-gravity air. Old flags hung torn from the walls. And then, a sound. A faint mechanical voice repeating the message. Earth burns. Help us, they're coming. They followed it until they reached the command center. At its center stood a single pod, cracked open, cables running across the floor. Inside lay a body. Or what was left of one. A human skeleton, wrapped in an old Earth Fleet uniform. Mara swallowed hard. He's been dead for centuries. Then who's sending the message? Rian asked quietly. He stepped closer to the console beside the pod. The old display flickered to life, powered by something deep within the structure. The message played again. But this time, it was longer. Earth burns. Help us. They're coming. If you hear this, follow the signal. Project Dawnfire must not fall into their hands. Humanity's future depends on it. Then static. Rian's heart raced. He replayed it twice, trying to decode the coordinates hidden in the transmission. Finally, the computer displayed a set of numbers, deep inside Dominion space. The source of Project Dawnfire, he whispered. Mara stepped beside him. Commander, if this is real, then the Dominion's already looking for it too. I know, Rian said. And they're closer. He turned to the team. Gather what we can. Then destroy this station. No one else must find it. They worked quickly, taking the data cores and setting demolition charges. As the team prepared to leave, Rian stopped by the ancient skeleton. He saluted silently. You did your part, soldier. We'll finish it. Back aboard the Valiant, the fleet pulled away just as the station exploded, a silent bloom of fire in the dark. The crew stood watching, knowing that whatever waited ahead would change everything. Mara broke the silence. Commander, permission to ask a question. Rian nodded. She hesitated, then said, Do you ever wonder if Earth was really destroyed? Rian's expression didn't change, but his eyes darkened. Every day. He turned toward the stars where the coordinates pointed. And if Project Dawnfire still exists, then maybe Earth isn't as dead as everyone thinks. The bridge fell silent again. Outside, the stars stretched into lines as the fleet jumped into faster-than-light travel, chasing the final ghost of their homeworld. Somewhere ahead, the Dominion waited, and something else, something older, was calling to them. The signal had been found. But the message was only beginning to reveal its truth. The stars ahead glowed blood-red as the human fleet crossed the border into Dominion space. Every ship was silent. No lights, no signals, only the deep hum of engines and the quiet rhythm of fear. Commander Rian Holt stood on the bridge of the UNS Valiant, staring at the holographic map. Around them stretched the vast heart of the VE Rock Dominion, hundreds of occupied worlds, countless fleets, all ruled by a single brutal empire. Lieutenant Mara watched him carefully. "Commander, if we're caught this deep inside, there's no help coming." Rian nodded. "I know. That's why we move like ghosts." The signal from Project Dawnfire pulsed again, faint but steady. It was coming from a system called Rathuan Prime, the Dominion's central fortress world, a planet said to hold their most terrible secrets. "Plot a path through their sensor web," Rian ordered. "Minimum energy output. We can't risk detection." The fleet drifted through the darkness for hours, hidden by the shadows of dead moons and broken asteroids. Every minute felt longer than the last. Finally, the target appeared, a massive red planet surrounded by glowing defense satellites and battle stations. The Dominion had built an iron cage around it. The crew stared in silence. Mara whispered, "No fleet could break through that." Rian smiled faintly. "We won't have to." He turned to the engineer's console. "Activate the ether shroud." The ship's core pulsed blue, and a wave of distortion rippled across the fleet. For a moment, the stars around them seemed to twist, and then the ships vanished completely from Dominion sensors. It was one of Earth's last miracles, a cloaking field that bent light and signals alike. It drained power fast, but for a short time, they would be invisible. The fleet slipped through the outer defense lines, weaving between patrols, unseen and unheard. When they reached the far side of the planet, Rian saw it, the source of the signal. A station unlike any Dominion design floated in orbit, covered in scaffolding and alien machinery. But beneath all the modifications, its shape was familiar, human. "Magnify," Rian said. The image expanded. The faded blue symbol on the hull became clear, UEDF, Project Dawnfire. Gasps filled the bridge. Mara whispered, "It's real." Rian's eyes narrowed. "And the Dominion's been tampering with it." On the view screen, Dominion ships surrounded the station, moving like insects around a dead god. Strange cables and energy conduits linked the station to a giant crystalline structure, glowing with red light. Rian recognized it immediately. "They're trying to merge our technology with theirs." Mara looked horrified. "If they succeed, they'll control whatever Dawnfire was meant to create," Rian said darkly. "Or destroy." He turned to his crew. "We can't let that happen." But before they could plan, the ship's alarms began to shriek. "Multiple contacts," shouted the sensor officer. "They've detected a flux in the shroud. Dominion warships inbound." The bridge lights turned crimson. "Shields up. Full power to weapons." Rian barked. Outside, the human fleet shimmered back into visibility as Dominion cruisers dropped out of hyperspace, sleek, black vessels with glowing red spines. The first blast struck the Valiant shields, shaking the hull. "Return fire." Blue plasma tore across the void, colliding with the enemy ships in bursts of fire and metal. The battle was chaos, fast and brutal. The Dominion's numbers were overwhelming, but the human fleet fought with precision. Their tactics were old school, efficient, fearless, deadly. Mara shouted over the noise, "We can't hold them long." Rian didn't answer. His eyes were fixed on the Dawnfire station. "Prepare a boarding team," he said. Mara turned to him. "You can't be serious. That's suicide." He met her gaze. If the Dominion activates Dawnfire, this war won't matter. We'll all be dust. I'm going in. He pressed his calm, Captain Eric. The fleet is yours. Hold the line as long as you can. Then retreat. Eric's voice crackled through the speaker. And you, Commander? Rian looked once more at the burning station. I'll find the truth. Minutes later, a small strike ship launched from the Valiant, weaving through the firestorm toward the Dawnfire station. Plasma bolts streaked past it, explosions lighting up the dark. Inside, Rian and a small team of Marines prepared for impact. Once we're in, Rian said, find the control room. Get me access to whatever's still alive in that system. The strike ship slammed into the outer docking ring. Metal screamed as the airlock sealed. The doors burst open, and the team poured inside. The corridors glowed with red light. Dominion tech covered the walls, pulsing, alive, whispering in a strange language. But beneath it all, Rian could still see the bones of human design, corridors built by his ancestors, control panels labeled in Earth's language, now covered in alien markings. As they moved deeper, they found Dominion scientists, tall, scaled beings fused with machines, working around a massive core that pulsed with both blue and red light. At the center of the room hung something that made Rian stop breathing. A human body, frozen in stasis, suspended in energy. Mara's voice came through his earpiece. Commander, what do you see? He whispered. A human. Still alive. The Dominion guards turned. Gunfire erupted. Blue plasma cut through the air as Rian's team fought their way to the chamber. Dominion soldiers fell one by one, but more poured in from every side. Rian reached the control panel beside the stasis pod. It displayed one word, old, flickering, barely readable. Dawnfire. Active. Rian's heart pounded. It's not a weapon, he muttered. It's a person. The pod began to glow brighter, energy levels spiking. Dominion alarms filled the air. Commander, what's happening? Mara shouted. Rian looked up at the pod, his face lit by the blue light. They were trying to wake it. But we're too late. The core behind him flared with power. The entire station trembled. And from inside the pod, a human hand began to move. The chamber shook violently as the energy core pulsed. Red and blue light fought for dominance, reflecting off the walls and the faces of Commander Rian Holt and his team. Rian stared at the pod. The human inside twitched again. His heart skipped a beat. He had seen countless stasis pods, old relics of Earth's last wars, but none of them had ever shown life like this. Stay sharp, Rian warned his team. Something tells me this isn't going to be easy. The stasis pod's energy shifted, humming louder, a sound that vibrated in their bones. Blue veins of light ran across the surface, tracing patterns across the human inside. The Dominion scientists froze in terror, their mechanical implants sparking as if reacting to the awakening. Then, with a hiss of released pressure, the pod cracked open. Steam and electric arcs sprayed outward. The air smelled of ozone and metal. Inside, a man emerged, tall, lean, and impossibly alive. His skin was pale, eyes closed, chest rising slowly as he took his first breath in centuries. His hair shimmered faintly silver under the lights, and faint blue lines ran across his arms, implants from ancient human technology. Mara gasped. He's human. Rian stepped closer, voice low. Yes. But he's not like any human we've seen. He's enhanced. The man's eyes snapped open. A brilliant, glowing blue. For a moment, silence filled the chamber. Then he looked at Rian. Commander Holt, the man said, his voice calm but commanding. It has been long. Rian froze. You know me. The man nodded. I've been waiting for someone like you. Humanity sent you for this. The signal was my call. Dawnfire is no mere weapon, it is the last seed of Earth's hope. And now, it is time to awaken it fully. The Dominion scientists tried to flee, but blue energy surged from the pod. Invisible forces lifted them into the air, holding them still. Metal bent and twisted as if alive, confining the attackers. Rian whispered, This power. The man stepped forward, landing gracefully on the floor. This is what humans were meant to become. Not slaves. Not conquerors. Survivors. And protectors. Mara whispered, Protector of what? The colony. The fleet. The man shook his head. Protector of everything Earth ever touched. The galaxy. But first, we finish what they started. Rian's mind raced. Finish what? The Dominion stole what we left behind, the man said, eyes glowing brighter. Project Dawnfire was never meant to be a weapon. It was meant to preserve humanity's essence. Knowledge, biology, technology, the seed to rebuild, in case Earth fell. But the Dominion found it first. They tried to bend it to destroy, to dominate. Mara's voice trembled. And now, the man's gaze swept the room. Now we reclaim it. Before it's too late. He raised a hand. Blue light shot out, cutting across the Dominion machines, tearing wires, sparking panels, and shutting down their systems. The scientists screamed, but they were powerless. Rian and his team watched in awe as the human from the pod moved, seemingly in tune with the station itself. Energy ran across the walls, responding to his gestures, reshaping the station's very structure. He's controlling it? Mara asked. Yes, Rian whispered. He's human, but he's something more. The man turned to Rian. Commander, your fleet is holding off their forces above. But the Dominion won't give up easily. You must protect them until I awaken Dawnfire fully. Rian nodded. We'll hold them. The man smiled faintly. Good. Humanity must not fail now. Not after 3 centuries. As he spoke, his eyes glowed brighter. Streams of energy began forming shapes above the station, like stars being born. The station itself seemed alive, its dormant power stirring after centuries of silence. A sudden alarm blared. Rian spun to the comms. Dominion reinforcements were warping in, hundreds of ships converging on the station. They're coming faster than we expected. Mara shouted. The man from Dawnfire raised both hands. The energy around him surged outward, forming a protective shield that rippled like water over the station. The Dominion fleet slowed, unable to penetrate it. This is only the beginning, he said. The galaxy will see humanity's return. And they will learn not to underestimate us. Rian clenched his fists. Then we fight. With everything we have. The man nodded. And I will fight with you, but I fight for more than survival. I fight for humanity itself. For its memory, its future, its right to exist. Mara looked at Rian. Do you think he's what humans could become? Rian didn't answer. He only stared at the glowing figure, feeling a mix of fear, awe, and hope. Above them, the Dominion fleet began its assault. Plasma bolts tore through the void, engines flared, and explosions lit the red sky. Inside the station, the awakened human moved with precision, bending energy to his will, shutting down Dominion systems, and preparing to release the full power of Dawnfire. The battle was far from over, but now, humanity had a champion. And for the first time in centuries, the galaxy would tremble at the return of its lost children. The Dominion fleet filled the void around Rathuan Prime, black ships blinking like stars of death. Plasma fire streaked the darkness, lighting up the battlefield as human and Dominion vessels clashed in a storm of energy and metal. Commander Rian Holt's eyes never left the station. Inside, the awakened human, the last seed of Earth, stood at the heart of Project Dawnfire. Energy danced across his arms, and the station itself seemed alive, responding to his will. Commander, Mara shouted over the comms. They're concentrating fire on the station. It won't hold much longer. Rian gritted his teeth. Hold them. Every second counts. The moment Dawnfire is fully awake, the Dominion will regret underestimating us. Outside, the fleet pushed forward. Human ships dodged and weaved between plasma storms, returning fire with precision. Despite being outnumbered, they fought with a skill and fearlessness that made Dominion captains hesitate. The old humans were not just survivors, they were warriors reborn. Inside the station, the human from Dawnfire raised his hands. Energy pulsed like a heartbeat, spreading outward in ripples across the orbital structures. Dominion ships nearest the station slowed, their engines faltering as if the very space around them resisted. "Project Dawnfire is activating," the man said, his voice calm yet commanding. "Rian Holt, are your forces ready?" Rian clenched the bridge console. "We're ready. Just tell me when." The human's eyes glowed brighter, casting light across the entire chamber. "Now." A shockwave erupted from the station, invisible but palpable. The Dominion ships shuddered violently as systems failed. Hulls bent under the force of energy they could not comprehend. Their weapons misfired, engines sputtered, and panic spread through the ranks. On the bridge of the Valiant, Rian felt the hum in his bones. The energy was immense, not just destructive, but alive, intelligent. Dawnfire was not a weapon in the conventional sense. It was a force of creation, capable of restoring or erasing life itself. The Dominion flagship's captain roared orders, but the fleet could not coordinate. One by one, ships broke formation, engines flaring uncontrollably before exploding into fireballs. "This is unbelievable," Mara whispered. "It's not just power. It's consciousness." "Yes," Rian said, staring at the glowing figure in the distance. "It's human, and it knows who we are." From the energy, a message rippled across space, audible to all who could sense it. "Return what was taken. Leave what is not yours. Humanity endures." The Dominion hesitated. Their confidence shattered. Ships turned back, fleeing into the darkness, leaving Rathuan Prime and its orbiting station untouched. The awakened human walked slowly to the center of the station. The energy that had been rippling outward now pulsed gently, like breathing. Blue lines of light spread across his body, tracing the original design of the station, repairing broken systems, realigning the orbital structure. Rian and his team stepped forward cautiously. You stopped them," Rian said, awe in his voice. The man nodded. "I restored what they tried to corrupt. Dawnfire is not a weapon. It is the heart of humanity's future. Knowledge, memory, strength, everything we lost when Earth fell, now preserved." Mara looked around, eyes wide. "And what happens now? The Dominion? The galaxy?" The man turned to her, calm but firm. "Now, humanity returns. We will not conquer. We will protect. The galaxy will remember the people who once vanished, and it will learn that humanity's children are never truly gone." Rian felt a weight lift from his shoulders. For centuries, humanity had been silent, powerless, scattered among the stars. But now, with Dawnfire awakened, they had a chance to reclaim not just their history, but their destiny. The fleet regrouped above Rathuan Prime. Human ships glowed with renewed energy, their shields stronger, their weapons sharper. The Dominion forces that remained were scattered, demoralized, and retreating into deep space. Rian spoke to his officers, voice firm but proud. "Today, humanity reminds the galaxy why it should never be forgotten. Prepare for the journey home, and make sure every system we pass knows who has returned." The awakened human placed his hand on the central console. Energy rippled outward, scanning the galaxy, transmitting messages of warning and hope alike. "We are back. Remember this day. Humanity endures." The station's power radiated through nearby systems, restoring damaged colonies, repairing old ships, and reigniting communication networks lost for centuries. Governor Elira Kale's voice came through the comms from Viral. "Commander Holt, the sky above our world has never been so bright." What did you just do?" Rian smiled faintly. "We reminded them that humanity never truly dies. We're home, and this time, the galaxy will know it." The awakened human looked at Rian. "It is done. But remember this, our return is not vengeance. It is responsibility. Humanity's legacy must be protected, or all of this will mean nothing." Rian nodded. Understood. Outside, the stars stretched into lines as the human fleet set a course for home. Rathuan Prime's orbiting station glowed blue and white, a beacon of hope shining across the darkness. The galaxy had witnessed the return of humanity, and the universe would never forget. For centuries, humanity had been lost. Now, it had returned stronger, wiser, and unstoppable. And in the quiet moments, when the stars whispered across the void, one truth resonated across every world. When humanity returns, even the heavens burn with their glory.